It's gonna take a while. Alright guys, today we're going to be playing with the Viking. So when I bought this thing, I told you I got it for the lift system, and I bought it for $500. The reason I got it so cheap is, the story goes, the people that owned it took it out camping, everything worked fine, they went to leave, and packing it up, and the top wouldn't go down. So they had to force it down. And I think by the looks of it, what that actually meant is they took all of the springs, the lifting springs, out from underneath it so that the top would go down with them forcing it down. I have a theory about what happened, but we're going to dig into it little by little here, see if we can't figure out why this thing wouldn't retract on its own. So let's get to it. Alright guys, we've done quite a bit of exploratory work here. This is the hydraulic assembly that is powering the lifting mechanism. It's a big hydraulic cylinder that runs up under there and pushes on a system that tugs a cable. None of that worked. I think the pump is actually burnt up. There's a motor that sticks on the end of this. The motor's fine, but I'm not getting any pressure out of the hydraulic system, so I think that's pretty well busted right there. I wasn't planning on using it even if it was going to work. Hydraulic systems are a little finicky. I think I found the reason why it won't go down, or didn't go down, when the problem occurred for the previous owner. This lifting spring is jacked. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cut that one off. It's pretty much trash. I mean, it's bent, mangled in several places. So let me just cut that off, and then we can figure out the rest of it. Yep. All right. So now at least one of these corners, this one specifically, is not going to be able to go up on its own, but the other three, hopefully I can get working and get the roof up. Alright guys, I think I figured out what the main issue is. Definitely why it was binding up in the lifting system. So this is basically the base of the rear cable, rear lifting springs. There's a cable that actually runs in between the springs, and it's got a little bar that it sits on. That bar sits on the top of these two screws, and when the cable pulls, it pulls on those springs and basically pushes them up into the lift posts. So fairly simple system. Here's the front one. As you can see, it's all kind of trashed up. It was definitely binding in the housing that it goes in. There's all kinds of problems here. It bent the bar that's supposed to sit in here with the cable between it. It was just completely like bent into an L shape. So that's trashed. I'm gonna pull that out. I think I can get this part. I'm gonna have to look online and see about the bar that got bent that goes into the housing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Luckily one of these springs was trashed anyway, the one I had to cut, so I have to get a new spring, get a new one of these. Looks like this bolt is bent, so probably one of those. And yeah, so getting there. as you can see, we're still working to get this thing gutted. It's taking a lot longer than I expected, mostly because of these Huck lock bolts that are kind of swaged in here. It's a neat design, vibration resistant. That's why this thing holds together so well after God knows how many miles it's been on the road. But that and the steel rivets that it's held together with are just slowing things down. So I got one more panel over here to take out, heater box, and a little bit more of this on the floor, and we'll just about have this thing gutted and we can start messing with it. Back to work. Alright guys, pieces have come in for the pop-up camper, so we're gonna kind of switch gears and work on it a little bit, see if we can't get it working. First problem we got is this little bracket right here, little metal piece. Basically there's a swage on this cable under there that this will ride against, and the springs in their housings would sit on this end, and then as the cable gets pulled, this would get pulled with it and push the springs up. The springs bound, bent this thing. It was actually bent a lot worse. I straightened it out with a couple pairs of pliers, but I need to get it a lot straighter than that. So what I'm probably gonna do is take this off the cable, and then we'll straighten it out a little bit easier with a hammer. So give me a minute to get that off, and step number one. All right, we're up under the pop-up camper now. Looking from front to back, there's the little metal piece that I have flattened back out, and then the swaged piece on the cable that it rides against. Basically the springs are going to sit here in their housings, and this all gets pushed back into that housing, and that's what guides the springs forward in their tubes and then pushes up on the lifting posts. So it's time to go put the springs in their tubes. Hopefully this new springs that I bought fit, and see if we can get them in the trailer. All right, I've got our springs laid out here. Actually, these are the old springs. These are, of course, the pair of new springs. I don't have the forth the old spring out here because it was mangled and I had to cut it off anyway. So here I'm just comparing lengths. New springs are slightly longer, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut these new springs down so that it will lift evenly. It's going to be the height we needed anyway for the door to work and for anything else I use off the pop-up camper as far as the lift system to all be even. So let's go ahead and cut these off. So these are our spring tubes. Springs are going to feed in here. They come out the other ends. Now it's just a matter of getting them in there, and we can get them over and mounted back onto the trailer. So one in one side, one in the other. Have a blockage in there. That would be unfortunate. This in there goes pretty good. I think it's just the spring having to force its way around the corners. There's our springs coming out the end. Awesome. Yeah, that'll work. All right, guys, pretty cool moment. After a lot of struggling, a week of just trying to figure out how this was going to work, making some adjustments, ordering some parts, I finally managed to make the top on this stupid camper actually go up. So I know it's not a whole lot at the moment. The method I'm using, since the hydraulic system went out, is I've got my come along under here sort of pulling on the cable, and I don't have a whole lot more room to raise it, but if I can just get it up high enough where I can get the slide outs to come out, I can get in and actually jack it up from inside the trailer. One of the big problems with this thing is that the top where the lift posts go in, this is a lift post, and under there is where it bolts in to the roof, but this whole thing is just about to come apart. So not a whole lot of trust in this system at the moment. So what I'm gonna do is, as I go up with it, I'm gonna put some blocks under here to keep it from falling down and messing something else up. But yeah, so for right now we're making progress. It's just super slow, but once I can get this roof up, get the air conditioner off the top of it, because that probably weighs a ton, it'll make this a little bit easier going forward. And I actually start dismantling this thing and getting the parts out of it I need. I've almost got the sleeper cab completely gutted, so we're pretty much ready to start putting things from this thing into the sleeper cab. Just a couple more days worth of work and I think we'll have this thing. So keep working on it.